1, 2, 3, 4.
Screen time, screen time, screen time, screen time.
It's my screen time too.
Screen time, screen time.
Hello, and welcome to It's My Screen Time Too, the podcast where two moms review the best and worst in children's programming, from Netflix reboots and YouTube shorts to Disney classics and Pixar blockbusters. We watch, you listen. Find out what you can tolerate watching for family movie night, what to avoid altogether, and what you'll want to watch alone voluntarily. I'm Deborah.
And I'm Katie.
And I have three children, a 10-year-old named Tony and twin 6-year-olds named Libby and Nate.
And I have two kids. Jay, he is 4, and Kenny, he is 1. Our kids are pretty adorable, and at the outset of every episode, we just like to get a cute kid story out of the way, just to, let our moms out before we really let fly with the incisive cultural criticism. So, Deborah, have your kids done anything cute this week?
Well, I'm going to paint you a word picture because this is a podcast. We went to a kid's hair salon this morning, and all my kids transformed from like raggedy street urchins into Target toy catalog models.
Aww.
Yeah, they look so cute when they're just done getting haircuts.
Does it make you feel like they're a lot older? I feel like it always has that like gut-wrenching moment of, oh, my kids are growing up every time I cut Jay's hair.
Yes, and there was a little baby in the, like a toddler, gonna get his like first haircut. Aww. And I kind of wanted to tell the mom, like, it's not time. Let him have that baby mullet another couple of months.
Yeah, Kevin has been giving me a hard time to cut Kenny's hair, and I'm like, oh, you gave me till 18 months with Jay. Don't make me go sooner with Kenny. I can't do it.
Yeah. So what have those two done that is cute this week?
We have been moving, so things have been a little hectic. Jay, they have this thing at his school where every week a different kid is star of the week, and they get to bring in something for like show and tell every day. So I let him pick what he brought. I didn't really direct him at all. So each day he chose to bring a different stuffed animal.
Okay.
And I learned that he has named all of his stuffed animals, but it's just the name of the animal with a Y sound at the end for all of them. It's really cute. So he brought in dinosaur-y and alligator-y and eagle-y. So, for our Screen Time in the News segment today, we wanted to officially kick off the holiday season because, guys, as we record this, we are in full Thanksgiving prep mode, and you know what that means. It means we would rather be watching Hallmark Christmas movies.
Yeah, and it's a short Thanksgiving to Christmas time frame this year, and so we need to maximize our holiday movie time.
Yes. So we have both kind of been taking a look at the slate of new Christmas movies for, the big hitters, your Hallmarks, your Lifetimes, and also what Netflix has coming out, and all the other little players like Freeform. Who knew? Disney Plus. The article that we looked at today was from the New York Times on October 30th, and it's called How Many Christmas Movies is Too Many Christmas Movies by Ashley Spencer. So she talks about what you would kind of expect, the fact that it is a little crazy that Hallmark and Lifetime are producing so many original Christmas movies with essentially the same plot. And we, the viewers, are eating them up. So she's asking in this article whether we've reached peak Christmas movies. And I think based on the numbers of viewers, it's safe to say that we have not. I think based on the opinions of your humble podcast hosts here, we have not. At least in my head, we haven't. But in all practicality, I have zero time to watch any of these new Christmas movies. How about you?
I might make time. I mean, I definitely all about the kids' Christmas movies.
Mhm.
Netflix is coming out with Klaus, which looks really good. We really liked their big holiday animated film last year, and so I'm excited to watch that with my kids. I will probably try to make time for the OWN network. Oprah Winfrey's network
Mhm.
has its first ever TV Christmas movies, all three with black leads. I think that's kind of cool. And I like every everything that Oprah does.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't?
I don't know that I'll get to see any of the in theater Christmas movies.
Right.
Probably not, because if we go to a movie in the theater, it's usually like, well, we'll see Star Wars. That's coming out December 20th.
I was hoping to find some, and I know this is wishful thinking, but I was hoping to find some of the TV Christmas rom-coms that like had a hook that might make them even somewhat interesting to my kids. It's not. I haven't found anything. So I don't think there'll be any hope of me forcing Jay to sit down for one, but I did watch almost all of one already.
Oh, nice.
Yes,
Awesome.
I chose the Megan Hilty vehicle, Smoky Mountain Christmas, maybe, or Sweet Mountain Christmas, some sort of mountain Christmas. You know the plot, guys. She's a busy career woman who gets trapped in her hometown and reminded what Christmas is all about. It was charmingly awful. Definitely not the best of the genre by far, but it got me a little bit in that Christmas spirit.
That's nice. Do you have Disney Plus?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Do you?
Okay, I don't. So I want you to watch the Disney Plus one with Anna Kendrick
I want to
called
watch
Noelle.
it. Mm-hmm.
And I also have to mention from this article, this one from Freeform sounds really crazy. It's called Ghosting the Spirit of Christmas.
Uh-huh.
And it's about a girl who goes on the perfect first date and then she dies in a car accident on her way home
Oh man.
and quote unquote ghosts the date. It sounds really wacky and I'm very curious. I think this definitely breaks through the genre of Christmas movie. It breaks the mold, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I have to admit that I had not considered the potentially fertile ground between Christmas movies for kids and families and the silly rom-coms that are for, us middle-aged women. I had not thought, what about Christmas movies for teens? And it seems like Freeform is really jumping into that space.
Yeah. Oh, happy holidays, everybody. Let us know what you are watching and enjoying. There's too much for us to see, and so let us know what is worth our time.
I'm also interested to know what your favorite quote-unquote classic TV holiday movies are, because they come out with so many new ones. I'm interested to know if there are any that you still want to watch again and again. That fascinates me. All
Good
right.
question. So, as a quick follow-up from our last episode in which we reviewed Tiffany Haddish's Kids Say the Darndest Things, I just want to let you know that I followed her on Instagram and it's kind of disappointing.
Oh.
I thought it would be really a lot funnier, and I think it's not her posting the content.
And that 10-year-old assistant she hired isn't good with the social media content.
Yeah, it's not like the unfiltered Tiffany Haddish that I would like to see on Instagram. It's just like some promos about her show.
Oh, that makes me sad.
Well, today we are reviewing The Last Kids on Earth. It's a Netflix show. It premiered in September of this year, 2019, and it's based on a series of illustrated novels by Max Brullier and illustrated by Douglas Holgate. There are 5 books in this series. The first one was published in 2015. And the show is a production of Canadian studio Atomic Cartoons, who's also responsible for one of our favorites, Molly of Denali. And the series centers around a 13-year-old boy named Jack Sullivan, and he lives in a treehouse with his friends. Quint Baker, who's a science nerd and adventure, June Del Toro, who's a kick-ass love interest, and Dirk Savage, local bully turned team strongman. And they're all navigating the apocalypse, which involves zombies and monsters.
Can't just be one, guys. Can't just be one.
We picked it based on my suggestion because my 10-year-old is a huge fan of the book series. Really loves them a lot. He's like told his younger brother and sister all about the series, and so they play Last Kids on Earth sometimes. So they were excited to watch it. I was excited to watch it. Also, our Halloween movie, Spooky Buddies, wasn't super scary, so we wanted to delve a little bit further into that world of kids' frightening content.
So this is not our first trip into the world of teen zombies. Listeners, if you remember last year, I think it was around our like fun summer movie time, we reviewed the Disney Channel original Zombies, which was a musical and had quite a different tone. But this is our first foray into a full-on teen apocalypse. And just as we talked about when we did review Zombies, I have to ask, Deborah, are you apocalypsed out? Did you find the new setting and the attempt to bring this to a teen audience to be refreshing?
I got apocalypsed out in like season 4 of The Walking Dead. So I did not find the genre, the new setting, to be refreshing. I was super confused by the fact that there were zombies and monsters. Like, I think one main threat to human existence is enough for an hour-long show.
Also, wouldn't the monsters just eat the zombies and thus take care of one half of those problems?
They seem to only be interested in like living flesh, not undead flesh of human beings. Because the monsters just ignore those zombies.
Couldn't it be like one of those vampire movies where the vampire learns to drink animal blood instead of human blood just so, he can live in the world? The monsters can just learn to develop a taste for zombie flesh.
That would be maybe too convenient for Jack and his friends, and then they wouldn't have anything to do all day.
Fine. Why are there no adults left in this town? I mean, towards the end of the episode, June, who is Jack's love interest, mentions that there was a rescue bus that carried her parents away, but how is it there were so many kids that are left behind but no adults were? It seems awfully irresponsible that the adults were all like, well, I guess we'll get on this bus and leave our teens behind.
I know. So Jack doesn't have parents, but he was living in like a foster family, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they abandoned him. Quint's parents were on a cruise and left him alone.
Which, 13 years old. Would you leave your 13-year-old alone when you went on a cruise? That's more than borderline.
I don't think I would even leave a 13-year-old home alone for an overnight, but yeah. I'm a helicopter parent. Yeah, and the scene where June describes how she saw her parents and they saw her and they didn't even try to get through the zombie apocalypse to save her. That's a moment where, like, as a parent, you're like trying to protect your spot in the gene pool. So like you risk your life to save your child, to propagate the species.
Right.
Like that just didn't seem realistic based on, I don't know, human instincts. But
Yeah.
It was very sad.
It was very sad. Yeah, just teens, no adults, seemingly no younger children. So maybe the adults were more concerned with them. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about why don't the monsters eat the zombies. It really seems like throughout that instead of being a constant threat, the monsters and the zombies are only there when they need to be for the plot. Because sometimes they're terrifyingly blasé about this supposed ever present threat. There's the
Mm-hmm.
scene where they break into the high school or the junior high where June has been holed up this whole time. So the three boys break into the high school. They break into the junior high to find June. There are tons of zombies, like zombie
Mm-hmm.
hordes. If this were an episode of The Walking Dead, there would be so much zombie carnage. And there's this
Mm-hmm.
whole montage of them just like chair racing down the halls of the school and in general making a ruckus and having fun like kids do. Guys,
Mm-hmm.
there are zombies right there. The whole time I was watching with like my hands clutching the chair arms being like, when is the zombie going to jump out and eat Clint? So that was a little frustrating to me. I wanted a little bit more ever-present sense of dread.
Right. And another thing about the threats that I didn't understand was there's Rover,
Mm-hmm.
who's a monster who is like a domesticated pet to Jack.
Right. So they don't even really tame him. He's just tame out of the box. He's like a monster dog.
A monster dog. It's so weird. Like what the other monsters are like trying to eat these kids, and
Mhm.
then Jack's like riding around on Rover with a saddle.
Mm-hmm. The whole time, because the big bad of this episode is a giant monster that they call a blurg.
Mm-hmm.
The whole time I thought that was going to be the capper on the episode. I thought it was going to turn out that the blurg was just following them because he needed a friend. Like, I was just waiting for that to be the twist.
Yes, I even asked Tony when we were watching it. I was like, "Does Blurg just want to hang out with them?" And he was like, "No."
But you could be forgiven for thinking that because how could you tell? Like, is there a size limit? If the monster is small enough, it might be tame. But if it's big, it's got to be evil.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's a little sizist.
I think you're right.
I was also wondering if there is a chance that this entire apocalypse is just a figment of Jack's imagination because the system has already failed him. He is
Mhm.
almost already living a tween's version of the apocalypse because he's growing up with a negligent foster family. All right, I really didn't have like something to follow that up with, but is the apocalypse just a metaphor for the hopelessness of his real life?
I think that's a really astute observation. And
But
he seems really happy when he kind of assembles this like family of his own making with the three friends who all come to live with him in the treehouse.
and the whole time that he's living through this apocalypse, he is treating it like a video game. Like every task he completes, he
Mhm.
like gives himself a little reward badge and it flashes up on the screen. It feels like to have the whole thing framed as a game starring Jack as our hero could mean that it's all in his head to begin with. Which brings me to the process of gamification, which Jack uses as a means of coping with the apocalypse. Gamification is kind of in the zeitgeist right now. Listeners, if you don't know what gamification is, it's like the process of accomplishing something by pretending it is a game. And people have applied this to a lot of different areas of their everyday life. You can see people gamifying their diet regimes or their exercise routines or their household chores. There's a whole variety of things that, and a lot of it is app based, that have little rewards that you get for, I don't know, doing all the dishes or whatever, making your bed every day. Is there anything in your life that you gamify, Deborah?
This is not really a gamifying thing, and I'm kind of embarrassed to tell you about this, but I used to work
Love it.
in an office a long time ago, and like the executive assistant in my office, his name was Gino, and he was really, 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 really fun. And we would have lunch all the time and check in with each other. And some days he would be like, I am really being Gino Producto today. And his like Gino Producto persona was like super with it, really efficient, did all his stuff, did more than was on his to-do list. So like some days I have those like Deborah Producto days
Aww.
where I give myself like a little pat on the back for, doing an extra load of laundry. And I have lost touch with Gino and Gino Producto. And I really hope that he's somewhere being super productive right now.
I love it. I love that Deborah Producto is your like superhero name. I can see you in like your little cape that is actually made out of a freshly laundered bath towel.
Yes.
I am super attracted to this idea because I love being recognized for the things that I do. And if a computer or app can recognize me for the things that a normal human would never recognize me for, like completing another load of laundry, because come on, who really cares? I am all for it. Like, if I can get a little badge for doing something that is mundane and I would do otherwise, I want it. I want to try all these apps.
That's interesting. Gamification is new to me, and I feel like it would really work for my kids.
Mm-hmm. Well, isn't that the basic concept of like sticker charts and
Yes.
chore charts and what have you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like getting a gold star
Mm-hmm.
is a motivator for some people.
Yeah. So I guess the idea of gamification is it's like a gold star for grown-ups without any actual reward behind it. Like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
know how you do it with your kids, but with Jay, if he gets 10 pirate coins, then he gets some sort of little prize. But if I were gamifying this for myself, I wouldn't really get anything after 10 pirate coins. I would maybe become like a level 2 pirate. I don't know. We're getting kind of in the weeds with this. The point is that I love Jack's approach to the apocalypse. It brings some spirit and some life into, the everyday drudgery of trying not to get eaten.
Mm-hmm.
And I find gamification super compelling. What did you think about the look of the show, if we can focus back on the actual topic of our episode today? I was looking through you know how on Amazon you can click on the link and kind of look through the pages of a book?
Mm-hmm.
So I was looking through some of the pages of the books, and it's clear that the animation hews really closely to the look of the text. Everyone looks appropriately aged. I was super happy to see that there wasn't any inappropriate hypersexualization of June. Like, she looks like a tween or a young teenager. She doesn't have like big boobs and hips and a super tiny waist or anything like that. So that was heartening for me. I thought when looking at it for the first time that it was actually from a graphic novel. That's just what I assumed from the look of it. But it's actually an illustrated, what are they?
Chapter book.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think it's like a pretty heavily illustrated chapter book,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not. I want to say there are not drawings on every page, but the drawings are the illustrations are fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like the monsters are very inventive. The zombies are pretty scary. I liked both the illustrations in the books that I've looked at, and I liked the animation. And one thing we should say is there are 5 books in the book series, and it looks like Netflix is going to release like about an hour-long show based on every book. Because when we watched this, we watched book 1, and that's all that is on Netflix right now.
Mm-hmm. And it's just a hair over an hour.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about the cast of characters? Were you a fan of Jack and his... Is this an appropriate use of the word ersatz? His ersatz family?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Well, it is very Scooby-Doo, and you noted on our notes that each team member of this ersatz family is a recognizable type. Like Jack is the hero, Quint is the nerd, Dirk is the muscle, June is the girl, the badass girl. And a lot of kids shows do this, and like a lot of chick lit novels do this, and rom-com movies do this. And you pointed that out, and then it started to kind of make me mad. And I wonder, like, are writers lazy, or do they not give enough credit to their audience?
Part of me wants to give it a little bit of a pass just because it
Mm-hmm.
is a book for children. And I think the idea is to find an avatar for yourself. And maybe
Yeah.
if you're a young boy reading this, and you can check this with Tony, you want to see yourself in Jack, and you want to see your immediate friend group in his friend group. And at least at that age, I think they're not usually really playing with members of the opposite sex all that much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But I was kind of peeved that June was the only girl, and well, also Quint was the only person of color. The whole thing about representation being that if you only have one of a certain type, that person is meant to represent the totality of
Mm-hmm.
that group. It's just as frustrating here as it always is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We encounter this a lot.
We do.
Um, One kind of funny scene about Dirk, the musclehead, they encounter him in a street scene, and he like fights a monster away, and then he just goes to the side of a building, rips the gutter off in order to get a drink of water. I just thought that scene was hilarious.
I really enjoyed Dirk as comic relief.
I get it. He's strong. We already mentioned The Walking Dead, and I can talk more about this, but did you compare Last Kids on Earth to any adult movies or TV shows?
But The Walking Dead is obviously the first one that you would reach for when thinking about the apocalypse, right?
Yeah, and in fact, based on when these books came out, I have like sort of a crass capitalist take on this. I feel like the writer of the book might have watched the first season of The Walking Dead and just thought to themselves, what if it was just Carl?
That sounds horrible. I hope he didn't say that in his pitch meeting.
I know, but that's kind of what it feels like in the beginning, because it's just Jack slash Carl alone, eating junk food, avoiding zombies. It also made me think a little bit about I Am Legend with Will Smith in it, and the dog. And this is not even the first show that I've compared to that movie.
I think I have too. I think pretty much anything involving a sad death of a pet, like that one always comes up for me.
It also sort of reminded me, and maybe just because this is the only zombie book I've ever read, but Colson Whitehead's Zone 1 book that also came out during that really fertile time for zombies in the zeitgeist. Like,
Is that also when we got Justin Cronin's The Passage? That was more
feel like
vampires, but
2010 to 2015, it was just all zombies all the time.
yeah, there were zombies everywhere. Oh, I guess it was earlier. 28 Days Later was earlier in the aughts, wasn't it? That was
Yeah.
a favorite of mine too.
Okay. Were you able to cast the gritty HBO reboot?
I mean, to me, what you were saying about The Walking Dead, but only Carl, it felt to me like it could almost be like Walking Dead, the early years. Like, what if young Rick Grimes, and what if young Michonne and young Daryl, and I don't know who Quint would be. Is there a brainy one, really?
That doctor, maybe? The vet?
Oh
The old
yeah.
guy?
I
So
d-
like the Muppet Babies of
yes.
the Walking Dead.
Walking Dead Muppet Babies. That is exactly what I mean.
I thought about casting Jack and June in more of an adult age, and I would like to see Michael B. Jordan and Michelle Rodriguez have um, kind of that tension between like he wants to save her and she doesn't need saving because
Mm-hmm.
she's really tough and competent fighting zombies. It would also be refreshing to see like the female lead try to keep saving the male lead and the male lead being like, I got it. I just cleared a path to the cafeteria. Quit messing with my system.
You know what I thought about when I was thinking about the girl? I don't know why this has been on my mind so much lately, but the girl saving the guy.
Mm-hmm.
That awesome scene in I feel like it was maybe mid to late 90s movie Ever After. It was a Drew Barrymore vehicle. It was a
Yes.
retelling of Cinderella.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this awesome scene in which she and Prince Charming are like beset by brigands, and she makes a deal that like she can leave with whatever she can carry because she's just a girl and they don't really need her. And so she goes up to the prince and like fireman lifts him over her shoulder to carry him away. And the brigands are just so impressed that like she has that chutzpah that they let them go, or like they decide to party with them or something. I don't know. I love that image.
I like that.
I just want to mention, and this is totally going back to our general thoughts, but speaking of images that we loved, Jack, our hero, his weapon of choice is a baseball bat that early on in the episode he hits the blurg with the baseball bat and the bat breaks, but it breaks in such a way that it looks like a sword. And I
Mm-hmm.
just loved that imagery. Like all of a sudden he was the hero knight in his quest just because of the way his baseball bat had broken. I really liked the way that that looked animation wise.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That was cool.
Sorry, going back to evergreen questions.
I was just gonna ask you if you thought it was better when we were kids. Did we realize we were missing out on zombie apocalyptic scenarios?
I'm trying to think if we had anything. Not that this is a dark show, because the tone is really pretty enthusiastic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think if we had anything that approached this kind of heavy topic.
I don't think this was the type of show that I would have watched when I was a kid. So
Mhm.
if there was something like it, it wasn't on my radar.
Yeah. So I don't think it was better when we were kids in this instance.
Mm-hmm. Would you ever watch Last Kids on Earth alone?
That's a tough call. It was really fun. If I didn't have so many other apocalypse viewing options,
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling I will be just fine watching this with Jay in a couple years when he's old enough for it. I don't feel the need to watch
Mm-hmm.
it by myself, but it was perfectly entertaining. How about you?
Mm-hmm. My kids loved it. So if there's no chance that I'll watch it alone. They're already like disappointed that only book one is available. So I definitely will be watching the other ones, but with my children.
So that leads us easily into 10 seconds on whether or not this is good for our kids. I think it gets a thumbs up from you, right?
Thumbs up from me, but my kids are older. The monsters are pretty scary.
Mm-hmm.
If your kids either don't like scary stuff or if they're pretty young still. So I would say it's good for definitely 8 and up, 6 and up, kind of a question of who's watching, what the kid
And
is like.
I think I would skew that towards the younger end of your spectrum, just because it does have such a sunny tone, even when they are confronting what could be looked at as the scarier monsters. It doesn't feel like anyone's ever really in peril.
Right. Ratings?
I don't know that we have emphasized, or that I have adequately emphasized, how much fun I found this. Like, not knowing anything going into it, I was very entertained. So I would give it maybe a 4.
Yeah, I think Jack was a really good character. I would say 4.5.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, the only thing that shades it away from being higher for me would just be, I guess, the lack of diversity, the kind of standard, the white dude is our hero perspective. But yeah, I thought it was really well done, really nice and quippy, and dare I say, a nice, sunny take on the apocalypse.
Yeah.
Which was good to hear. Well, guys, let us know what you thought about The Last Kids on Earth. And don't forget to keep us posted on your holiday movie watching schedule. Deborah, do you have any other thoughts on this one?
I do not. Thanks for listening to this episode of It's My Screen Time Too. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Check out our website at myscreentime2.com. You can still find us on Facebook to continue the conversation at facebook.com/myscreentime2. You'll see what we're watching next, and you can watch along with us before our next episode. You can tweet us with show or movie suggestions, article recommendations, or general comments at myscreentime2. You can email us at myscreentime2@gmail.com. Our theme music was composed and performed by me and my adorable children, and our podcast is produced by Katie. Tune in next time for more real talk about the movies and TV beloved by kids and tolerated by parents. Bye.